Hello friends, it's Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Today I wanted to make some faux vellum, and from that faux vellum I wanted to make some projects. So I had recently seen a project on the Graphics Fairy blog about making faux vellum, and I wanted to give it a try. So that's where this inspiration came from. And we're going to be making some faux vellum out of just regular papers. So you don't need anything special to make this. Paper-wise, you do need some other supplies, which I'll be going over in a second. But then we're also going to be making this fun little faux vellum envelope, and we're going to do some decorating on it. And then we're also going to be making this fun double-sided pocket where you can put tags or ephemera in. But I just love the way this faux vellum is translucent there, so you can see your ephemera through there. I think that's so much fun. So we're going to be making that. I also have a freebie for you, so I'll go into that more as I'm talking about supplies, but I'm going to be using these fun little fussy cut butterflies that I've turned into little vellum butterflies in our projects as well. So I hope that you'll join me today in playing with some faux vellum and making some fun projects with them. So let's go ahead and get started. Supplies that you'll need. So first, there's not too many, which I love about this kind of a project. You don't need too many things to get going. But you do need a couple things. So paper is the first one. So this piece of paper was from an old planner I had. It was already printed. It came printed. It was in you can see there a disc binding type system. This one is double-sided, but the double-siding, the lines on this are in the same place or pretty close. So, I mean, there's, these little boxes on this side that aren't on this side, but most of these larger lines are all in the same place. The words obviously aren't as well. So if you have a double-sided paper, you might have a different effect. So you might want to kind of hold it up to the light and see if you like the way the double-sided paper looks. You can certainly use that. I'm not going to be using double-sided papers for most of them, just maybe this one, and that's it. So, if you have things like this laying around, that would be a great thing to use up. You can definitely use those. Then I did print out a digital from my Perpetual Autumn kit. So this is just a background page from my Perpetual Autumn kit, and that's what I'm going to be using. I printed it one-sided, so I didn't want to have it double-sided, because once we start making the vellum, anything on the back side is going to show through the front side. It's going to become translucent. So you might want to keep it to one side to make sure the image that you're getting looks the way you want it to look. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention was I created a little freebie for you that I thought would be fun to use. So I made these little fussy cut spring butters. I thought they were fun butterflies that you could use to fussy cut and use in collage or whatever, or to make the little project, the little vellum butterflies that we're going to do today. I thought that would be fun if you had access to be able to do them. So the freebie comes with two different pages. They're the same butterflies, but one is a plain background and one has like a ledger page background there, so that if you were just using it to fussy cut, this is the I forget what they call it, distress saver or whatever, so that when you cut around, it's already sort of vintage in case your border shows some of that. So that's why I kind of put that ledger page back there. Now, I'm not going to be making this one into vellum, so I'm going to put that one aside. I am going to be using this one. So if you would like the freebie, you just need to go to madpapercrush.com/freebies and scroll down, and it's on there. And I'll put the link down below as well for you if you'd like to use that. So I'm going to put this one aside for now. Okay, so those are the papers I'm going to be using, but I want to talk a little bit more about the papers. So the first thing is, these papers I printed on my inkjet printer. So, and I like that I was able to do that, because a lot of times when you do techniques where you add something wet to an inkjet print, it smears. And so a lot of times you can't use inkjet prints for doing some of these things. But this one works with inkjet printers, which is kind of exciting. So both of these were printed with my inkjet printer. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is the type of paper that I printed them on. These are actually printed on presentation paper, which is heavier than your standard copy printer paper. So I think this is 32 pounds. I'm not sure exactly what copy paper is, but I want to say it's like 20 pounds maybe. So this is heavier than that, but it's still not a cardstock. So it's still, you know, much lighter than cardstock, but it is thicker than copy paper. And the reason I did this is I did try this process on copy paper, but what I found was when you put the oils on to create the vellum, it takes forever, for whatever reason, for it to dry when it's just copy paper. I had much more success with faster drying and less greasiness when I use this presentation paper. So that's why I'm going to be printing on this presentation paper. You can definitely still do it onto a copy paper, but it's going to take a lot longer to dry, like days longer to dry. So just so you know that. And I did want to just, sorry about that. So this is one that I did on my, on just regular copy paper. Now it's been probably a week, so it is dry now, but it took forever. And I mean, it looks beautiful. So if you have the patience and the time, you can do that. But this is also very light, which you may want. So depending on what you're planning to make with them, you might want a little bit thicker paper. So, but I think this would be beautiful in a, you know, in a journal, just as like a piece of vellum, or even as a covering for a tag. I think it would look gorgeous. So you can do that as well. But I'm going to be using presentation for the things that we're going to be doing today. And these are the ones I'm probably going to be using. Okay. So that's papers. And then the other thing is the oils. So this is fractionated coconut oil. I am not going to use this, but I just wanted to show you it because I did try it and it worked, but I just wasn't as happy with it with this oil as I was with the one I'm going to show you in just a minute. So I definitely encourage you to try different oils, but I just wanted you to know my experience. So this is something I had around the house. I make oils and things for my skin. So I have a lot of these different oils around to do that kind of thing. That's why I use them. But I've seen other people use things like baby oil. I'm sure you could probably use even like an olive oil or something like that. So experiment, you know, go ahead. I think that that might be fun to see what different oils do, but just beware that, you know, you might have longer drying times. It might remain greasy. You know, some oils may not even dry all the way. They may kind of be a little bit greasy when they're finished. And some of them may discolor your prints. So just, you know, kind of keep those things in mind as you do it. Maybe try on just, you know, some scrap papers or things like that before you decide to do a whole paper. And then the one I'm going to use, the oil I'm going to use is this jojoba oil. And I think that's how you say that. But I'm going to be using this. Once again, this is just something I had around. We're not going to be using a whole, you know, bottle full or anything like that. So I don't mind using this. I really liked the way this worked into this paper, and then also the drying time. It, you know, didn't take that long, just a couple of hours, and I felt like it was dry enough for me to start, you know, doing some projects on. So this is what I'm going to be using, and feel free to try whatever you think might work from your house. So that is all we're going to need. You could use a brush to brush these things in. You could use like a credit card or, you know, old hotel key, something like that, if you wanted to help smooth things around. I'm going to use my hands. So my hands are pretty dry anyway, so I like having some oil on there. And I'm just going to rub it around. So that's what I'm going to be using for tools. Feel free to use whatever makes you comfortable for yours. All right, let's get started. Okay, I have my papers ready to go, and I'm probably just going to do one at a time just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to start here with my my butterflies, and I have a dropper here, so I'm just going to use that. I don't want to really pour it out, and I'm just going to add some oil kind of all over the page here to get started. Just some drops and stuff. And then I'm just going to start rubbing it in. And as you can see, it's already starting to soak into the page. So you can see where my mat is showing through here. Whoops. And that's what we want to do. So you want to be sure that you've got the oil in all the places that you want to turn into vellum. And since I'm going to be fussy cutting these, I just kind of need to make sure I get around each of the butterflies that I'm doing. I don't have to do the whole page. The other one that I do, I'm going to do the whole page because I want the whole thing to be, you know, my faux vellum there. So you can kind of see all I'm doing is making sure each butterfly all the way around has some oil around it so that when I cut them out, I won't have to worry about there being just any, you know, plain paper left. So, and this, you'll notice that it will start to soak through, but that's okay. That's what we want. We want it to be nice and soaked through. And you can see this is an inkjet print, and this oil isn't smearing my print, which like I said, I'm so excited about because I often want to try different techniques, and wet techniques with an inkjet printer just don't seem to match. Don't seem to go together well. Okay, and now I'm not really going to do too much on the back. I am just going to make sure there aren't any places that look like I didn't get any oil, but that's really all I'm going to do. So now I have this nice and rubbed in, and you can see I didn't do my whole paper, but I don't need to for this one. And then I'm going to set this aside. If you have a drying rack or you know, some clothespins where you can hang it, that would be great. If you put it aside someplace, just know that you want to that it is going to be oily. So wherever you put it, don't put it on top of something, you know, that you might that might get some oil on it, because that's what's going to happen. And now just the last thing I did was I did just kind of try to wipe some of the excess off. That will just help so that it doesn't take quite so long to dry. So I'm going to set that one aside, and then we'll start the other one. And I'm just going to do the same thing with this one, except I am going to have the oil go all the way to the ends. I want this full page to be my vellum here. Okay, now this one, when you go to the edges, you're going to have some over oiling. So just so you're aware of that. And for this one, I did do a little bit more on the back, not a lot, but like I said, I really want to be sure that the entire page is covered. And so turning it over and getting it in some of that excess is helpful. And now this one, it feels like it has a lot of extra oil on it. So I am going to try to wipe off what I can here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this off, and then we'll do one more wipe, and then we'll hang this one ready to go. Because I don't know if you can see that on the camera there, but you can kind of see that there's some extra oil on there. So I'm just going to put this aside for a minute. Let me see if I can stand that up there, see if it'll stay. And then I'm going to grab a baby wipe. And that's how I'm going to clean off this. So you want to, you know, make sure your surface is something that can be cleaned off there. So once this is clean and dry, I'm going to put that paper back down again, and I'm just going to do one more wipe of the oils so that it's nice and saturated, but not oversaturated so that it takes forever to dry. Okay, this is pretty dry now. So I'm going to put this back down, and I'm actually going to start on the back because I think the back is wetter than the front. So I'm just pulling it off with my hands, and you could actually use I don't know that I would put the baby wipe on there, but just I'm cleaning off my hands, and then I'll wipe again. Because if I just keep laying it in the oil, obviously it's going to keep, it's not gonna get any drier. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm not gonna go crazy with it, but I know it'll help my drying time if I have it, you know, most of the excess off there. So that seems pretty good. Okay, and I can already tell I'm gonna love this one. I love kind of that old paper and just how see-through it is. So all right, I'm going to put that one aside too, and then we'll come back when they're dry. And when you're testing them, just, you know, just feel them. If they still feel greasy, they're not ready. So, you know, give them a little bit of time, and then they will dry out and you'll be able to use them. So, oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention, I am going to go through and do that last piece of paper. I don't know where I put it. I'm going to do this guy too, so that we can play with this one when we're ready as well. All right, I did let these go overnight, but I don't know if they would have needed it, but they're dry now and they're smooth, but they're not oily anymore. So I love the way they've turned out. So I don't know if you can see. And like I said, this is like a heavy vellum because the paper is heavier than like your normal copy paper or something, but you can see how you can see through it. I totally love that look. And I love that, you know, I can put whatever design that I want to on here. And these are the same thing. Now you can't really, like if I put this over here, well, you might be able to see it. You can see it a little bit through there. But I plan to kind of cut these apart anyway to use, but I love the way that they look. And they still have their nice bright colors on them. I think they look awesome. And I had also pulled out, this was the test piece of copy paper that I had done that took a really, really long time to dry. So this one is dry now, same thing. And I can definitely feel the difference, you know, with the heavier paper, but I think this would also be fun to, you know, to use in something, even if it was just a page, you know, a journal page that you would put in a signature. I think that would be great. I love the way some, you know, things shine through. So if you have a pocket or something on the other side of this page, you would still be able to kind of get, you know, see something through there. And plus just the way that it feels is wonderful. And then here's that piece of planner page that I had pulled out of an old planner that I had. So I love the way that one works too. I think that'll be fun to play with. So that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to play with some of this stuff. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut these, and I don't know if I'll do them all or if I'll just do a couple so that we can play with them, you know, and see how they're going to look. So I'm going to fussy cut a couple of them, and then I thought we could make something with the other ones just to get an idea of how you might be able to use it in a journal. So I'm going to grab my fussy cut scissors, and I'm going to get going on cutting out some of these here. Okay, I was only going to cut out a couple. I still didn't cut out them all, but I had so much fun cutting them out because I just love the way they look and the way that they feel. I love the butterflies. All right, but I'm going to put them aside for now because I want to do something with some of these other ones first, because even these just by themselves would be cute. I mean, you could take one, let's see, I'm going to take this little guy here and do like, just kind of crease it just a teeny bit down the middle. And you could add it to a tag as sort of a 3D effect. So you could just glue it right there, or you could sew right on his body there. And that would make a beautiful little addition, you know, that would be raised there. So I love how those look there. They're so much fun. Okay, but we'll do some more with those later. We'll do some decorating and things like that. So I wanted to start with these two, and I was thinking it would be fun to do an envelope and a pocket with these. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to do an envelope. Now you can, if you don't have like an envelope board or an envelope tab board like a lot of people have, you can take an envelope. I just took this envelope here, And I grabbed kind of a straight edge. So this is like a palette knife here. And I just gently went in and kind of removed, you know, the glue and pulled it all apart. And you can see it wasn't perfect for sure. You know, it's got some gouges in there that didn't come off quite right. But if you line it up on your, you know, paper that you're using, you can kind of see where this is going. So, you know, I just wouldn't cut this out, obviously, except for maybe just this little corner, which all these little corners are kind of cut out here. But I have a base template that I could use for this envelope if you don't have, you know, an envelope board like I'm going to use. So I am going to use an envelope board. And I want something similar to this size. So this size, when it's done, is about 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 or so. It's not, probably mine's not going to be exact, but it'll be similar to that. And I'm probably going to need my cutter too. So I'm going to be using this scoreboard, which has this little envelope making tool that goes right on here. And I have all my little notes and stuff here. So I was thinking about making this, because these don't, like the envelope sizes, they just tell you the names of the envelopes. So they say 4 bar, A2, A6, and I don't know what size those are. It doesn't give me the end dimensions of the envelope. So I kind of have them on here so I know what size things are. So this 4 bar envelope ends up being 5 1/4 by 4 1/8. So I think that's pretty close to what I want to do. So to do a 4 bar envelope, I'm going to look at here. I have to start with a piece of paper that's 7 1/2 by 7 1/2. And then I do 2 different score lines. So first let me cut my paper down. So grab this here and use my paper cutter to cut this at 7 1/2 by 7 1/2. So I think I'm going to cut off this top piece where my, I just want the lines for my envelope, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start here and do 7 1/2. And then I'm going to cut these disc holes off too, because I don't want them in my envelope. So 7 1/2 this way. And then I have this piece left over here. Okay. So now to do the envelope, I'm going to grab my little scoring tool here. I might use one that has a little bit bigger. I think we'll try this one. Okay. So then what you do, if you're using a board like this will be a little mini tutorial. Then what you do is you score your lines based on what this says here. So the first one I'm going to do at 2 5/8, and the next one I'm going to do at 3 1/4. So I'm going to start by lining up my paper at this point here, because this is the 0 point, and then it measures up that way. So I have 0. Now the first line we said was 2 5/8. So I'm going up 2, and then you have to count 5 for your 8s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. So 2 5/8 for my first one. And then you just rotate 90 degrees. And now you're going to do your second one, which we said was 3 1/4. So 3 and up 1/4. And I'm going to do a score. And then I rotate again. And this time I go back to the first line. So 2 5/8. Right there. And then one more time, 90 degree rotation, and up 3 1/4. And you can kind of see, maybe you can, that this is going to be the size of my envelopes, and then my flaps are all around here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take my scissors, and anywhere you have lines that are crossing, we want to cut those little notches out. So I'm going to cut these 4 little notches out. And when I cut them, I kind of cut them generously into the flap, if that makes sense. Not generous, but I try to cut on the innermost score line. So when you make score lines, it actually, you know, has a thickness there. So instead of leaving the score line on the envelope, I'm trying to cut it off. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So like this one, it's kind of hard to tell, but this one you can still see some of the score line on this flap. So I may go in and try to cut that off. because when you do that, it'll just make the envelope fold better. So I'm trying to do my cuts and completely cut off those score lines from the base envelope that I'm cutting. I can always come back and recut if I need to, but I try to just, and that's honestly, that's why those envelope boards are so nice, because you don't have to worry about that. The punch, the envelope punch board does a lot of that for you, but I don't have one of those. So then now I'm going to take this and just fold it in on all the sides. And I'm going to decide which flap I want to be my top. And now I can move this out of the way. So let me just put this back in there and tuck that away. All right, and so now I'm going to decide which side I want to be my flap, and I think I'm going to have this one that has sort of the manufacturer's mark be my flap, because I can cover that up. So, and actually that's not even true. Let's see. I think I'm going to do it as this one, because I'm going to cut this off. So what I'm going to do, and this is really cool that you can see through here because it'll make it easier to make these marks. So what I want to do is I want to make a little mark where my outer flap meets my side flap right here, and on the same on the other side. So where my outer flap meets this side flap, I'm going to make a little mark. So, and then I'm going to draw a line, grab my ruler here, and I'm just going to draw a little line between those two marks. And that's where I'm going to cut it off so that I don't have that point sticking up. And since that almost cuts the entire thing off, I'm good with that. So let's see how straight I can cut this line. That'll be a fun one, because I'm never good at cutting straight lines. That wasn't too bad. Not too bad. And then if you have any pencil marks left over, you can just kind of take those off. I have a dirty eraser, of course. There we go. Okay. And now the other thing that I like to do with envelopes is I like to grab my little corner rounder and make this pointy edge a nice rounded edge. And I love that I can, you know, I mean, this looks like vellum now, and I can basically do anything that I could with paper on here as well. So I love that this is see-through. And let's go ahead and glue it. So I'm going to grab, I think I'm going to try my glitter glue here. Hopefully it's not, been having problems with this bottle getting blocked up. And it's kind of neat that you can see where I might put the glue. You know, you can kind of see based on how the folds show you what overlaps. So usually what I do, if I don't have a blocked up bottle, which I think I must, so I will, let me get that. Oh. Okay, I hope that I got the little blockage out of there. Good, I did. Okay, and I'm gonna be kind of light with this. I don't want to put too much glue on. And then we will gently put this down, and it looks like I went over a little up at the top here, so I'm going to make sure I don't have glue gluing the whole thing together. And we'll just give that a second to set up there. Look how fun that is. I love it. Let me see. This is just a little piece of ephemera that I cut out and also added oil to kind of make it a faux piece of vellum. Let's see if it'll fit. Yes. So if I put it this way, you can see through. Isn't that cool? I love the way that looks. All right, so let's decorate this just a little bit here. So I think I'm going to add, let me grab my ephemera holder. Let's see what we got here. I'm not going to put too much decoration on this side in case I want to do something with it, but I think a label seems in order since I love labels. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to maybe try to match up use some of my pretty little butterflies here too. So let's see. I kind of like that there. I'm just going to put a teeny bit of distress on this. I need some more ink. There we go. You guys have to tell me in the comments if you distress everything. I distress everything. Okay. But I just feel like it takes that, you know, brand new look off of some of these things, and I like that better. Okay, so now I have some red that I could add here together. This is a nice big one, but I don't want to put too much on here to, you know, cover up what you might see through here. But that might still be fun. Kind of like it down there. I think let's do that. So first we'll add this. Ooh. I think I have a blockage coming back because not a lot of glue is coming out of here, but that should be enough to get me going. And then this, now sometimes what I do with butterflies that have antenna, sometimes I cut them off if I don't want to see you know, the white border around that I've cut. But this vellum definitely kind of lightens things up. And I'm gonna just grab a piece of deli paper, maybe. There we go. And I'm just gonna see if I can add distress to this and see what happens if I do that. So, because I didn't try this yet. And so I'm gonna gently try to add a little bit of distress to my antenna, and that is definitely toning down even the vellum color there. So you can do that too. And sometimes what I will do if I don't want to, you know, add distress to it, because it's still, you know, it doesn't match this paper or anything, which is okay. Sometimes I'll just cut those antennae off and then draw them back on with, you know, with a black pen or something like that. So let's put this guy down. And I'll add a little bit of glue to his antenna so he sticks where I want him to. And I love that. I think this would be very fun in a journal or even as Happy Mail. Look at that. Okay, and then on this side, I was thinking about taking another one and just adding it right to the flap here. But now that I'm thinking about it, it might be more fun. Let's see. I'm gonna grab my 2-inch hole punch. And I'm going to see if I can find a piece of, let's see what we got in there. A piece of scrap paper that might match that. And I think that does. Let's see if I can. Sometimes my 2-inch hole punch wants to fight me. I think some of the blades aren't as sharp as they used to be. So, all right, and of course, everybody at once, tell me what I'm gonna do. Distress, add distress. I'm not in distress, I'm just adding distress. Okay, so I think maybe what I'll do is use this as a little envelope clothes holder kind of thing. I think that would be fun in here. So to do that, I'm just going to add glue. Well, first, actually, the first thing I wanna do is I'm going to put him down on there first so I know where he's going to go. And this one, you know, it may be a she. I'm not sure. I don't know how you tell with butterflies or moths. I'm sure there are some of you that know that as well, but I do not. I am not an entomologist or a, what is it called when you study butterflies? Oh, something with an L. Lepidopterist? I can't think of the word. Okay, and I did not distress his wings this time. And this one might have been one of the ones where it might have been more interesting to cut them off and glue them back, or draw them back on, but I still think this looks okay. I like that. Okay, and so then I'm going to secure this then, I'm just going to put glue kind of from on the other side, his one wing down and around and up to his other wing approximately, so that the rest is left open for my flap to go in and out, if that makes sense. So I'm going to flip it over carefully and hold it where I don't want the glue. And then I will just add a little glue like this. And at the bottom, I am going to add just one little stripe there. And I'm going to try to center it here. And we'll hold that down for just a minute for it to stick. I'm going to grab my lid with one hand. Okay, and then make sure I didn't glue the flap down. And I also noticed, you can see this cut that I made wasn't real straight. So here's where I can go back in and just kind of straighten some of those up a little bit. That one was really crooked. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so now I have my little flap holder. And this, I'm going to grab my idea journal here. And I could find a page where I could just slide this in, or even take a little clip here and clip that right in there. Let's see if it would go this way. It would go this way too. And you could do it either way, or you could even do it, you know, with you could put this over the top. But I like the way, I want my little circle to show because I think that's fun. Although the other side's pretty too. So there you go. Now you have a vellum envelope right there in your journal. I love the way that turned out. All right, let's make something else. Okay, I grabbed my other piece of paper, and I was just going to do sort of a regular, you know, standard pocket, but I thought it would be fun to maybe do like a double-sided pocket. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I'm just going to cut, find my cutter. I'm just going to cut the height of the pocket that I want. So I think I want this pocket, and I want to use this top side because I like the way it looks. So I'm going to cut, how deep do I want the pockets? So I usually like them between 3.5 or so inches tall. So I think that looks good right there. 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to cut that off, put this aside. And then depending on the size of your journal, you may have to cut this down a little bit. So I'm going to grab, this is my little idea book journal. And I have 2 types of signatures in here. I have signatures that are completely sewn in, but then I also have some elastic signatures so that I can pull the whole signature out. Let me go ahead and do that because I think I'm going to use this one. Yes. To find the middle of the signature to pull it out. Okay, So now I can pull my whole signature out. You can see there's my elastic, so that I can play around with the pages in there. So not all techniques can be done on a journal that is sewn together. So I wanted to have an idea journal that had some sewn in and some signatures that I could remove the pages and play around, you know, with things that I wanted to try or do. So I think I'm just going to grab one of the plain papers because of the way this will show. So I'm just trying to decide which one I want. So I think I'm going to use this one. And I'll put the rest of the signature aside here. And so this is where my fold is. And then what I'm going to do is make a double-sided pocket that goes from here, and it folds over and goes to here on this side. So I have to be sure, I'm just measuring one side of my signature. Actually, I could probably do this in half, it'd make more sense. Or look, here we go. So this signature is 5.5 inches wide. So I don't want to have something that's bigger than 11 inches, say. Now this is 11 inches because I just cut it down. So that if I fold this in half, I will not go into the seam, if I'm making sense here. So I may need to cut off just a little bit because this is exactly 5.5. So I'm not sure I want it to go all the way into the edge. I may, just to be careful here, I may just cut off, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, something like that. Just to make sure I don't end up going into the folded part of the signature. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this, my little vellum piece, in half. I'm going to grab my bone folder and make sure this is nice and creased. Okay, so now this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this. This is going to be our pocket, and we're going to have it wrap around this piece of the signature. Now, you could glue this in place if you wanted to, but I am going to sew it in place. So because I folded it in half, sewing it should catch both ends or both sides in here, and same with the bottom. So let me just tell you what I'm going to do since I don't have a camera over by my sewing machine. First, I'm going to stitch along the top, and with it just flat like this, I'm going to stitch across the top. And then I'm going to come back over and put this on here and line it up with the side and the bottom. And then I'm going to stitch around the other 3 sides. Now, you don't necessarily have to stitch around this side since it's enclosed, you know, by the fold, but just for it looking cohesive, I'm going to sew down here, across here, and up here, and that will complete our pocket on this page. So let me go do that and I will show you what it looks like. All right, it's all sewn, and you can see here, first I sewed across the top, so I wasn't sewing this part down to the page, and I did that all the way across, and then I just folded it onto the page and sewed down here, across here, and up here, and now I have a double-sided pocket. So you can see I have a place here to put some ephemera and a place here to put some ephemera. And once again, I love that this has kind of a see-through look to it. I think that looks really cool. All right, so let's decorate this one a little bit. So I think I wanted to add a couple of these to see which ones kind of match here. Oh, I like this one. I think I'm going to put him right on the corner there. And maybe before I put that back in, oh, that's not in here. I need my ephemera book. Too many journals laying around here. I wanted to put a couple of maybe some numbers on here. So let me just, oops, open that up. See what I've got in here too. Grab a couple of these. I might use these instead. I've got labels and numbers and things all over the place, as you can see. And I love it. I love every minute of it. Okay. I just put them in there so that I can have some better access to them. Okay, so I think I like this butterfly here, but we need something else. Maybe even go to my stash. Could use a little torn book page here, I think. And that'll be fun because you can see the book page through the butterfly there. Actually, I may tear this down a little. Yes, I like that better. And then maybe we'll add a little found numbers to it here. Kind of like the contrast of the black there. Green, red. That one could work too. I'm just going to pull that one out because maybe I can use that on the other side. There's a lot of white on this one. I'm going to trim that down a little. Actually, I kind of like it as a little cluster there. Yeah, I think I like that. Perfect. Okay, so I hope I'm not the only one who, well, you know what, before I do this, say it with me. 3, 2, 1, distress. I was gonna say, I hope I'm not the only one who can be using my glue, set it down, and only a couple minutes later not be able to find it. I'm very bad at that. Okay, and I'm just adding a little bit of distress to this butterfly. I don't think it's too bad. For whatever reason, maybe just because vellum is see-through, I don't think it makes such a big difference to have these guys as distressed as I would normally do, like a butterfly on a white piece of paper. So, okay. I was gonna say I have a blockage again, but no, I don't think I do. I think we're good. And this, just make sure I got that in the right place. I think I do. Even just without this, I think it looks nice. But I do like the little pop of black in the whole grand scheme there. Oh, I love it, I love it. All right, let's do this side real quick. Let's see what we got. Now, we don't have to do a butterfly on this one, but I really don't think I'm gonna be able to stop myself, so. And I think I will use this one. Let's see. Maybe even this is just as simple as that. Since this has so many words on it already, I don't think there needs to be too much extra if we don't want it to be. Maybe pull that out a little. Yeah, I think that looks good. Now this is the one that I had folded a little, so I'm just gonna kind of straighten him out a bit there. Add my distress. Every day I add my distress. How about that? Okay, now what did I say? About right there, I think. Make sure that's straight. Okay. There we go. I love it. All right, I'm going to put my signature back together here since that's all done. But I really love the way those turned out. So fun. Okay, so I don't know if I can remember exactly where it went. I think it actually went right before this one. Not that it matters, because these are places where I can just pull them out and put them back in. Let's see if I can find where this one goes again. You can see I have all sorts of fun things here. Whoops. I guess it's back here somewhere it's supposed to go. Hello. Oh, there we go. See, I just have all kinds of things popping out of here. Okay. And I love this idea book that I can do this with and very easily just pop that out, and now it's all back together in my signature. So, and let's just open it up and see what it looks like. I love it. And you could have your envelope in here as well. We could even add something to the envelope. Let's see, I'm going to put it this way. And that has some pretty decoration on this side. And then you can just get a hint of something inside there. So, very neat. All right, friends, that is it for today. Faux vellum and a couple little projects with that. Don't forget to check out your freebie and grab those butterflies. And thank you so much for watching and being here with me today. I'll see you in the next video, friends. Bye-bye. Take care.